Lord, you ready?
Let's turn it back.
Start with allegiance. With allegiance. Present. Here.
Here.
Present.
Carr.
Here.
Roll.
Here. All right, thank you. Need a motion to approve the city council minutes from December 13th, 2022 at the regular meeting of city council. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman McGee, second by Alderman Grunwald on the question. Clerk, please do the roll call.
Alderman Kemp.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Aye. Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
7, Your Honor.
Here is public comments. Any public comments? Any public comments? Any public comments?
Hello, Mayor. My name is Jessica Velasquez. I live at 13439 Ann Street, Blue Island, Illinois. I'm aware that the alderman from that area is Mr. Mendoza. I don't know if you guys are aware of what happened on Wednesday before New Year's. I'm here to ask you guys for your help. I've been in Blue Island for 11 years. Never had a situation of any kind. I'm also asking if you could do something about building 13443. It's been too much traffic going on there. Now, there was a drive-by. There was 8 kids counting both houses, 14 adults. One of those kids is my son, Leonel Velasquez. He's really scared. He doesn't want to go to my house no more. He's afraid. He asked me, what am I going to do during summer? I'm like, don't worry about it. I will help you. And I don't care if I have to knock door by door to somebody to hear me out and help me. This is so bad for the kids. I don't care about me. I care about young kids. So please, Mayor, I'm asking you to help me. Mr. Mendoza, please. So, thank you.
Any other public comment? Moving on to presentation by Travis Perry and Christopher Burke Engineering.
Thanks, Mayor. In case you guys asked me back. Been a while since the last time, so I wasn't sure went well. Anyway, I have some questions about the road program. So I'm going to answer any of those. I'll just present a general overview of kind of how things went this year, and then sort of which questions all the versions. So in 2022, the successful year, we did 3.2 miles of roadway, which is of the 45.8 miles that we have in the city. It was about $2.6 million in work, and we're about 98% complete. There's a small section, a couple small sections of asphalt, and everything else is pretty minor in terms of the landscaping and striping and other things that need to be done in the warm weather months. So the typical method was mill and overlay. So we removed the top portion of the asphalt, put the other portion back, and of course, were certain other aspects that were repaired as needed. So curbs, sidewalks, things like that were always replaced throughout the program. Similarly, moving forward in 2023, we're anticipating a very similar program, similar size, similar scope. I think the thing that's, obviously this is our first year in town, so it's kind of a learning curve in terms of what to expect, what to understand, what to know how things are going to go. It's there's a lot of work, I guess, that needs to be done in the city. I'm sure you guys are here every day, you see it. But most of the guys that came out are surprised by the amount of work that needs to be done. It's not even to the point where we can do things to prevent deterioration. It's pretty much just either you got to replace or remove or kind of like the issues normally overlay. So, I think what we're seeing now is increases anywhere from depending on the material, but 20% from over the course of the year. So the longer we wait to get the program underway, the more expensive it's going to be. So we are trying to be as aggressive as possible, responsible with the funds that that are being provided. But the more streets we can do, the better off we'll be going forward. So the general basis for the program is the TMAP report that was completed or actually was updated in 2020. So that provides an overall condition. It's called the PCI, the Pavement Condition Index. You guys are probably all familiar with this, but so essentially what TMAP does, they send out a consultant. They use a car with a laser and it measures the cracks in the road, and then it provides a ton of data, but essentially how many cracks are in the road, and that gives you the PCI. And then they rate the roads based on that. And that gives a condition or all the way to good, superior. So so that's the basis of the how we start the road program. But what that it's very limited in terms of the localized influences of the program. So they don't know whether or not it doesn't evaluate the curb, it doesn't evaluate drainage, it doesn't evaluate anything inside the street, under the street. So all that has to come from local input. So what we do, actually what we're doing right now for the 2023 program is the guys are out evaluating the streets that were picked from the CMAP plan in the field. So we have guys on the streets right now taking a look at the sewers, taking a look at the road, taking a look at the curb, taking a look at the sidewalk, all the other things besides the road that go into the program. So we also are taking just took the core samples. So we have a consultant go out and do cores of all the streets or potential streets to evaluate the subways to know if that's in good condition or that would also need to be replaced. So so we take the CMAP plan, we take the engineering analysis, we take the local input, whether it's from the residents or from the staff, and kind of all of that goes into development of the proposed plan. And then once that's finalized, of course, we turn it around, provide the streets, provide the cost estimate, and get input back from you guys here. So in a 12-month-ish time frame, that's summarized in about 2 minutes there. So like I said, I think for next year we're looking at a similar scope, similar proposed plan. There were some issues. I think one on the Market Plains area where we found a cavity that had developed in the sewer that was unknown at the time. And those are things that unknowns that anytime you look at the tree, you aren't going to know. So, so obviously we try to avoid those, but they do happen. So that's the gist of the road program. So
You missed the televising in the sewer back.
oh, yep, my bad. I did have the utilities over here. Yeah, so so the for all potential streets this year, we're putting out a bid to televise the streets or televise the sewers under the streets to evaluate their condition. They'll be cleaned, they'll be jetted as part of that, so we can send the camera through to evaluate their condition. Yes.
When are you doing that?
I'm sorry.
When are you doing that? The sewer part?
So we will be doing that in early spring, well, between now and probably March, so we can evaluate, because any repair that we do that will be done before the program happens. So, and our goal is to get it during our first year last year, the program got started a little bit later than we anticipated, or from the light. So this year we hope to get out of the center. So we'll start that as soon as we can. The bids should probably go out this week. Those. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for coming out tonight. And thank you for last year. I know it was, I got to rush around to get things going, so appreciate that effort. About the televising, and then I'm speaking, I'm not an expert, so you can explain this to me like I'm not an expert.
Sure.
When the televising is done, what are you learning? And I guess maybe are there things you're not learning that you would need to go down, physically and look at?
As far as
And the condition of the overall condition of the sewer.
so I mean, so as part of the process, the entire line gets cleaned. From end to end, and then the camera's inserted to evaluate, and it gives you a entire view of the system.
Okay,
I mean, so that allows you to determine if there's any voids, if there's any root intrusion, if there's any damage, any issues with the inlets.
Okay.
All of that can be determined from as part of the process. And the same thing with the cleaning, the people doing it. So all that comes back as a report to evaluate essentially any potential concerns.
okay.
To allow
So
you
you don't need to put anyone down there. Televising is what you need to do.
You mean physically?
Physically,
insert?
you have to, like, go around and do whatever they need to do to, really.
So in the catch basin inlets, I mean, those can easily be evaluated by the personnel there, but obviously in the sewers, they're way too small to have any personnel, so you just need. Yeah, absolutely not.
Okay, just curious about that. And then about the streets overall, is there a projected lifespan for the work you're doing at these streets?
Yeah, I mean, typically, you get 10 to 20 years. I mean, but it all depends on the type of street, the base below it. I mean, every street in Blue Island is different,
Right, yeah.
right? Some have concrete bases, some have bricks, some have.
Yeah.
Some have none.
Exactly. So the life expectancy of each one of those would differ based on, what's below.
Okay, so if we were to get more money than we would ever be having, would the ideal solution, I'm just curious what the ideal would be, would we go through it, we would just take all the streets down to, dirt and then rebuild them, or is it normal to just kind of, we're going to put you back with the services as well?
Well, if money were no object, I think it's what you just proposed.
It is.
But then, you could completely remove everything and we could reconstruct the street.
Okay.
But that is not how 99% of communities operate. I mean, I guess the general consensus would be if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, you use what is there to save money, to save funds, to use taxpayer money and monies appropriately. And you still get, a good quality product at the end of the day.
Okay. And I guess the last thing I'm kind of asking around this is, and my overall, I don't know, interest is,
What do you got?
is that, so we know that most of our schools are really, really old.
Yep.
And presumably, many of them are in some kind of state of deteriorating condition. So I guess my
The
concern.
sewers you said, or the sewers or the stores?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess if we're putting streets down, they're gonna last 10 or 20 years, what's the likelihood that we're gonna have to go in and dig them up somewhere in the near future because the sewer is gonna have to be attended to?
That's a pretty loaded question.
It is.
I that's say not impossible to answer, but it's very difficult. I mean, there's any number of things that can happen. I mean, the sewers are not, they're not like the water main, which is under constant pressure or something like that, which would be a different scenario. I mean, I think if we evaluate the sewers and they're determined to be in adequate condition at the time, then I would say that their life expectancy would be pretty similar. Not to say something could change, something could go in there, so we could throw something down there. There's all kinds of, it's a living, breathing system, so to speak. So, but I think we would expect a very similar result from the sewers that were evaluated and determined to be adequate at the time as the roads.
So,
Thanks.
can I take back on that because they stand up earlier? But
Thanks, Travis. So that evaluation of the sewers, is it currently part of the assessment that's being done? You said you had crews out there that are performing these.
So two separate crews. So that is, so we have our engineers from Seabell who are out doing basically the above ground stuff. And then it's a separate, there'll be a separate contract entity that will go do all the underground work and provide that back to us for us. So they'll give us a finalized report with their grades, and then we'll evaluate that on our own for determination on what actually is replaced.
And is that part of the standard assessment process?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And are those assessments documented, right? So
Yeah.
if we, each one, so
Yeah.
per street, we can go back and see who checked it, when and all that. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
And then as far as cost increase, had I heard you correct that you anticipate a 20% material and labor cost increase year over year?
So from, so of all the bids that we're getting, and obviously we haven't gotten Blue Islands yet, just speaking from a company as a whole, we're seeing increases in that neighborhood.
Okay.
It depends obviously on the particular material, whether it's pipe, whether it's asphalt, but that is not to be unexpected at times.
Okay, and then how far out do you look? Is it just And 1 year, or how many years do you look when it comes to gauging cost increase?
So right now, that was for 2023. We have discussed a 5 to 10 year plan that is not, it's not on paper yet.
Good, thank you so much.
Question Alderman McGee and then Alderman Rivera.
Really quickly, during the cleaning and the televising is going to be done simultaneously, correct?
So they jet and clean and then they televise and then they're notified. Okay. Simultaneously, not exactly the same time, but during the same.
But at the same, okay.
Mhm.
And if in fact, there is a major issue with a sewer line that come across, would you then notify, the city?
Oh, for sure.
With a collapse or?
Right, something of a safety nature,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah. I mean, in any scenario, you guys would be notified, but certainly if it was something of a potential failure or something like that, a void, a cavity, then absolutely, you'd let Mike and the administration right away. Sure.
Oh, excellent. And then, with the televising, how, I know we can't predict everything, but, like how sharp is the imagery so that, are you able to see like micro cracks or?
It's pretty clear. Is it? I mean, these days with cameras, we can get, they're very small, they're very, they're images, so yeah, you can see a lot.
Did it take like?
Alderman Rivera and Alderman.
I'm going off of what, Alderman, Fairwell was saying. So what I understand is the purpose of the televising and doing the sewers first is so that you see what condition the sewer is in, depending on if we need to work on that first, and then work on the street, correct?
Correct, right. So if there's an issue, yeah, so if there's an issue with the pipe, we would go in, we would make that repair, let it, give it time to settle before the street program were to come in later and, repay it over time. Sure.
And also, do you have a guesstimation as to approximately how much this project would cost?
The televising of the storm sewers?
The entire program, road program.
Oh, well, excuse me. So this year, the contract was for 2.6. I think we estimated by around 3 million, so it came in a little bit under. And we're predicting a similar program for 2023. If you would say 5 million, then I'd say great, but as much as we can. Aggressive as we can be. Did you have a question?
Alderman Johnson and Alderman from.
Yes, understanding that the city of Blue Island is older than Chicago, and there's gonna be some stressful situations and things, and especially with our sewer systems. And the technology and when they were built. But I was wondering, I was listening that you was talking about the ratings, and depending on the underlayment and things of that nature, the materials used and what kind of traffic. So when you figure if the ratings of the street is just for, let's just say, cars and small trucks, do you communicate that with the city as well as maybe if it's a county connection as well? For us to put like, okay, it can't be over 5,000 tons, 5 tons, so that way it would give our streets some longevity instead of running, because they're building a lot of truck parkings and things of that nature. And I hate for us to spend this type of money on these streets and per se, set up like giving them the drivers a knowledge of, okay, this is only 5 tons. You can't come down here with to give our streets, longevity. And I understand also the second part of my question is that you estimated a little over 3 miles worth of work you guys did this year. Understanding that I know 150 was on strike, so you guys were catching the devil, getting, equipment. Can you project maybe, I know it's going to be hard, especially if you have a situation with a sewer, project how many miles you think you could do, for next year? Or what, this year, I'm sorry.
Right. So again, I think our goal would be to be very similar in terms of the overall project. Obviously, the length or the mileage that can be expected varies depending on the streets that we're doing, right? If we're doing wider ones, but I would expect a similar result. Number 3, 3.5, somewhere in there. Again, the concrete was one of our primary issues last year, the concrete shortage. That's anticipated to not only continue, but to get worse in terms of not being able to get it, and then if you can, for it to be more expensive. So all of that kind of goes into how much we're able to complete. The primary issue being the curbs and the sidewalks and the driveways, the concrete. So our goal is, I would say, to be very similar, but with that caveat that, we have price increases kind of built into the overall project. In regards to the cross section of the streets, so our typical cross section is for a residential street, which is what we do the majority of. If there were to be a street where we knew we had heavy traffic, then we would adjust the cross section, so the thickness of either the base or the materials being added to allow for that. I don't think last year, to my knowledge, would be adding those, particularly 135th. We did a fairly major reconstruction, which was substantially beefier than the previous one, but that's because we started non-existent before. So the answer would be yes. We would certainly coordinate with the city to try to figure out if we knew we were going to have a lot of truck traffic or otherwise, that we would build those a little bit stronger too.
Or reroute, right?
Yeah, we can certainly. We prefer to keep them on the county or the state roads.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because my thing is like, is given the driver, especially from another state or city or whatever. So it would be a point of like entrapment by actually having signage up, like how we have photo enforced. We should be able to have that as a city. So, okay, this is only 10 tons, then let me take an alternate route, or find an alternate route for the longevity of our streets. Otherwise, we're going to be doing this again in a couple of years.
Sure.
Thank you.
Alderman Fairwell.
Just one more question about the televising. Kind of how does that work? Do you get a full 360 view around and stuff like? I mean, how does it work? Is there like 4 cameras that are looking all around, or how do they actually do that? They give you that 360.
Well, so I mean, basically, generally speaking, and there's different technologies, but generally speaking, it's just a single camera, but the view is such that you can see the entire pipe as it works its way through the sewer. So it's the wide enough and viewing angle so you can see the entire pipe as it goes through.
Alderman Reed.
If you really want to blow this video up next time, I can bring a video in and show it and see what it look like.
I just want to say, our former superintendent, I'm sure Mike's going to do the same thing. We regularly do sections of the city anyway, so like Jim always did a section every year, right? But the whole city has been done. Jim made a comment to me, that's what we went off a lot of this knowledge that this almost 8 years here, he did the entire city. So any major things he constantly was getting at. Yeah. So I think finding the one issue for all the streets we did this summer was actually pretty good, but recent. And most that was handled in-house, which I would think if we can, we're going to handle it in-house and save money. But just so all of them know that we're here, we've done this regularly. Even when we're not doing the streets, we would do sections of town. I think all of them have everything.
Yeah. And then going off of what Alderman Johnson was asking regarding the trucks, what about school buses? Is it all under the same?
They're typically not as heavy, just because they're what they're hauling versus the weight. So they're more of a residential application, but obviously they'd be okay on their residential streets. Yeah.
So,
Alderman.
I know we spoke earlier, when the road project from last year was starting to ramp up. And we had spoke about prolonging the streets using like Reclamite or CFR or something like that. Is that possible to do? Because I would like to be proactive, and I mean, if in fact, from what I hear, is that it can extend 5 to 7, 8 years on the street, and so the estimates of the life expectancy that you were mentioning earlier, 25 years is extended to 30 or 35 years. I mean, that would be ideal. So
Certainly, I think what you can see in the CMAP report is exactly that. If you apply the maintenance program, you could potentially extend the life. And basically what you do is you avoid the water getting down into the pavement and freezing and breaking things up. I think where we are at though is not quite that far down the road to have enough pavement, good pavement to to maintain, sorry, go ahead.
I was speaking to, Rachel, I think Rachel Lane. She's, with the, corrective asphalt materials. She said she works with Burke Engineering, in different projects, for different areas as well. So, you know, she's, definitely familiar with the company. And, so I'm pretty sure you guys have implemented it in other areas. She says that, you know, even after the first year, it can be utilized to, you know, so that these 50 feet that we just laid, and then like Longwood, which was laid about 2 years ago, as well as a few other ones that were a couple of years back as well. You know, I think those streets can be, you know, addressed. At least it might be smaller, but it's a few streets that, you know, we can start small and then ramp it up as we have better roads to contend with. But as a, you know, I understand we always look at where's first kind of a approach that.
Yeah, I mean, the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah.
And of course, there are, you know, pavement management strategies that can be applied. I think that right now we're trying to, you know, triage as much as we can, as quickly as we can.
Yes.
And of course, the next step would be exactly what you're saying. We just put this beautiful pavement down. Let's keep it as long as we can. As soon as we get the bleeding stopped for somebody.
Well, why can't it be concurrent? I mean, why can't we walk and chew gum at the same time? So why can't we continue to repave roads, but also at the same time, make sure that we're protecting the ones we've just done? Why does it have to be one versus the other?
And no, it doesn't. I mean, we can't. Yeah, again. Yes was the answer. I said if I was belaboring the point, absolutely we can do that. It's just we hadn't.
We just haven't budgeted.
We didn't put the other foot in front of the other foot just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's on us and not necessarily anything that you as an engineering firm see as a problem. It's just up to us to say this is what we want. We
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, really quickly, I had given to our city administrator, the memorandum from, I want to say, and it's readily available online, from Evanston, I believe it is, and, I want to say they came in at like 98 cents a yard, or a square yard or something like that. So, I mean, it's pennies on the dollar of what we're going to be spending. I think their entire project ran for Evanston, like, $100 grand for 2021. So, you know, it's really, you know, cost-effective way to, you know, keep our roads preserved. And yeah, so I think that it's something we should really implement.
Happy to.
Yeah, okay, great. So actually, Rachel will be reaching out to you. So just to let you know.
You said it to me here, it's 86 cents per square yard.
80. Okay, and also to our city administrator and mayor and everybody else. Great. Yes. So hopefully get the ball rolling and, yeah.
Any other questions? I know you have more to talk about.
Good.
We were kind of off the road program to the city. So we applied for a NWRD green infrastructure grant, and we just found out late last year that we were awarded $800,000 for that. So it is to build green alleys between 121st Street and 122nd Place. I think there's 3 in total that will be completely reconstructed and with porous pavement, and will allow stormwater to be stored underneath those. So the NWRD has proved to be a great partner. And another one, project that I spoken with Ricky about was the stormwater partnership with NWRD for Washington Street, the Vincennes and Washington Street area. Big bowl, kind of a historical flooding issue. It was started with the previous engineering firm that wasn't able to complete it, and we've been working with NWRD, and we are looking to provide stormwater storage to kind of alleviate that entire issue, and NWRD is a great partner with us on that. So that can move forward here in 2023. The long-term project is kind of 2 phases: the green infrastructure phase with the metro parking lot, and then the addressing of the stormwater overland flow will be more of a 5 to 10 year plan, probably. I think it's 2 weeks on board with that. So very good. That's nice.
And then one other thing, which is quick, probably some of the time.
So we met them everybody a couple times at the end of last year and to go over the alternatives. So that's, we don't have an exact number yet. The answer to that is, so we gave them, 6 or 8 different alternatives. They came back and kind of narrowed down to a couple few, and now we're evaluating those to kind of narrow down to the exact one that's good for the best of the residents. And then we'll go back and agree with the.
And would we be funding all of that?
So we have not established a percentage for each partner yet. All they said was that they would be willing to partner with us, which is the best part. So we'll kind of get those details worked out for the ITA. So, yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for your work on that. This is something that's been long overdue in that area. Hundreds of years or whatever, it's been like that. So, to have an actual solution to this flooding problems, it's a godsend. So I appreciate your work on this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes. But yeah. So go ahead.
And Old Western, all those other small projects you're working.
Yeah. We, I don't know if it's been addressed at previous council.
No,
We awarded funding for the next couple phases of Western Avenue, North Circle Canal, Old Western Avenue. We're still working on the permitting with IDOT, our partners. But we awarded FDP and Cook County funds for the 2 sections north. So both those will be proceeding with this.
So once we get the permits from IDOT for Old Western, we start over on Old Western, hopefully this summer, hopefully probably after 10 years. We have money readily accessible for phase 2 and phase 3 out of town. We just have to start on Old Western. And you can't, like you said, put one foot in front of the others. We're still waiting on IDOT to clear the permits on Old Western. Once the permits are cleared on Western, we're literally at that point copying and pasting a lot of that for the phase 2 and 3, which should be streamlined at that point. And there's money to back it up. Not to mention all the stuff on the table that we talked about a year ago is out of the question. We still would have to do a loan or a bond on future revenue of 1% business tax, which was created for, but we're moving in the right direction and a lot of the grants will offset the cost of things. All right, any other questions for Travis? Thank you, Travis.
It's like that.
Moving on. We need a motion to roll for December 23rd, 2022, in the amount of $356,336.31. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Rita, second Alderman Roll. On the question, clerk, please do a roll call.
Johnson.
Aye.
Greenwald.
Aye.
Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Rowe, or Carter.
Aye.
Rowe.
Aye.
7.
Carries. Next, we have B, a motion to approve payroll for January 6th, 2023. The amount of $413,871.15. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Rita, second by Alderman Carr. On the question, clerk, please do the roll call.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Rowe.
Aye.
7 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. On C, I'm pulling one bill that it's a big bill. So the adjusted amount is to be $1,665,124.80 is the bill regarding the Division Street Bridge. There is some stuff that wasn't completed on a punch list going back several years. I went and verified personally myself things and photos. So I'd like to hold off on that at least until they get some answers back to us. So the adjusted amount is $1,665,424.80. Promotion. Alderman Roll, second by Alderman Fairwell on the question. Alderman Fairwell, then Alderman Rita.
Just on that point first, I saw the amount was significantly lower in the payables, right? 1.1 billion. For the Division Street Bridge.
It's just $538,029.46.
So, but we're looking at a total, it's gonna be 1.1 million when it comes up.
One? No. I adjusted the actual total.
Oh, got it.
I'm pulling that one bill.
Yeah.
We need to get some clarity as this
Yeah.
administration. Okay. Going off my memory, my father and other people we talked to, there's some stuff left on a punch list regarding those 2 bridges. And even our former superintendent had some issues with installation on water pipes. I went over there today and we were told they were completed and they were never completed. So we're going to talk to Robinson, we're going to talk to Burke and find out where we're at to be, and then probably have to still vote on this eventually, but I want them answered before we give away the church.
I have 3 more questions.
Yep.
Let's see, just well, actually, something just caught my eye. I think this is probably actually a question for the clerk. I see we've got 1,000 city information manuals. Something that you're-
Magnets. So for the city clerk, we're gonna do, magnets, so we've got, the office department has on there.
Yeah,
And we ordered 1,000.
so they're coming.
Yes.
Right.
They're not here yet.
Thanks. All right, and let's see. Yes. Oh, okay, on the, I'm sorry, on page 8, Gallagher asphalt, there's two amounts. I guess from what Tom's note said, it was 61,850 from the water department. So, yeah. And I'm just curious, why is any of that for the water department?
It's water and sewer, with water and sewer, so anytime you're affecting replacing sewer pipes.
Right.
Or,
Oh, so
in that case, it has to come out of the water.
so we did some of that.
Yes. Oh, anytime you see any major like curbs or sewer being done, that's water.
Got it. Okay. I'll have time for some. That's, yes, thank you.
We're in the Division Street Bridge. Is this the last, do we know if this is the last payment or if we can find out?
I was good this last man, so that's it's everything we owe. I'm both. We just gotta make sure we find out. the date.
If it- that-
Any other questions? Not clerk, can you do the roll?
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
Seven ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next, we have G, ordinance, the city of Blue Island, the county of Illinois, granting a variance regarding the architects at decks at 130-15 South Wood Street. A motion, motion by Alderman Rita, second by Alderman Roll. Question? Clerk, please do the roll call.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll. Seven ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries. E, we have an ordinance for the city of Blue Island, granting a fence variance at 2309 West 133. The motion. Motion by Alderman Fairwell, second by Alderman McGee on the question. Clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
Seven ayes, Your Honor.
Carries under F. An order for the city of Blue Island amending Title 9 General Regulations, Chapter 97 of our alarm systems, city code in relation to fire alarms. A motion. Motion by Alderman McGee, second by Alderman Fairwell on the question. Clerk, please do the roll call.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
Seven ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Under G, an ordinance for the city of Blue Island, the county of Illinois, requiring vehicle traffic stop at Maple and High Street and providing penalties for violation thereof. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Roll, second by Alderman McGee on the question. Clerk, please do the roll call.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
Seven ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Under H, city administration, Alderman, whoever wants to talk.
I'm the city administrator. So our intention tonight was to bring the new ordinance for city surcharge on garbage and recycling to the council. Unfortunately, we're not in a place where we're ready to do that yet. The plan right now is we're going to take the next 2 weeks to table this tonight, or the request from the staff tonight is table this tonight. And then on our next meeting on the 24th, we will have a completed garbage ordinance. Just want to give a brief update on where we are with the discussion, get any input from the council. And I know Alderman Roll has been very patiently working with us on this, so you may have some input, some of that too. So As a brief recap, we signed our new contract with LRS. A big change within that contract is how the city is going to handle bulk waste moving forward. So as we all know, traditionally, the unique feature of Blue Island as a municipality is we pick up all bulk waste from no extra charge, anywhere and everywhere. We left it, we wouldn't left it. So in an effort to get some better control on this, because it does have a very, very strong impact on our public works department. So again, I'm recapping some stuff we've already talked about before, but the goal here is in part to restructure this so that our public works employees are more of their time and energy and more of the money the city spends on that department is going towards the public works programs, projects that we all want to see. So this mailer, or this leaflet you have here is at the mail house now. This will be going out to all residents shortly. This is guidance from LRS. We wrote it in conjunction with LRS for the purpose of just a brief update on where we're at with the bulk waste, because that is a big part of the change of what we're making here. It's also going to be a big part of this ordinance and what the city is going to, what surcharge the city is going to levy for this. So right now, we estimate that bulk waste costs public works departments to the city of Blue Island approximately $460,000 in 2022. If we were not in a contract year, if no changes were made, if we were spending in the same situation we were last year, we could probably expect that number to go well over 500,000 for two reasons. One, roll-offs, which is the 20-foot dumpster. Once one gets filled with the bulk items, it rolls off to the Lake Shore Cross, picks it up, replaces it with an empty one. Each one of those, which was $275, is now $375. Okay, cost of everything goes up. We just signed a new contract with our public works union with AFSCME. Obviously, a new contract's going to have new wages, right? We just decided to do a health insurance policy with Evian. That's going to have more cost, right? So on and so on. So what we're trying to get to, and the goal we're trying to get to, is to get to a number that the city is going to, in conjunction with what LRS charges, is going to charge residents, senior, single homes, 2 flats and 3 flats. And what we're aiming to get to is how quickly and how effectively this new bulk system, which is outlined on this page here, right? What the city will pick up versus what LRS will pick up versus what the owner is responsible for. Okay, it's obviously going to be an education process. This document is part of the beginning of that education process. There's going to have to be enforcement. We're going to have to enforce what we're talking about here. That's going to be a process. There's going to be people who are getting the fines and the citations, but are still not removing the material, and they feel compelled to take action then, which still will result in us having to go get the stuff. And as you can see, if it's over 50 pounds, puts it to a 2-yard dumpster, the city is still going to take that. So that will lead to a bulk cost. So we are still in the process of making sure that we have a comprehensive plan in place before we ask you to vote on an ordinance with increased fees. Okay, a comprehensive plan in place that, and we'll work with Public Works to get there, that as best as we can assess, understanding that there are some unknown factors here, how rapidly and what the floor is on those roll-off costs. We don't really consider the public works salaries and that as part of something we're trying to look at. We're not trying to eliminate them. We're not going to be doing layoffs. We're going to be redirecting these public works employees to do public works, right? But the main driver that is going to be the administrative task here is getting these bulk costs out. How fast can we do it? How fast can we implement it? And then how effectively can we get the public on this, right? And then whatever, and like I said, unknown consequences come out of that. I said with the understanding that we're saying, hey, the owners are responsible for this. There's been a couple points where you as aldermen are going to come back to us and say, I can't have these eyesores over my area. What are we going to do about this? We're going to work through that together when the time comes, but there will be city money attached to that. So again, appreciate the patience of the council, but we appreciate the patience of Alderman Roll who's had to work through this stuff with us. We did want to have this ready today, but I feel it's more important that we get this right rather than do it quickly. I feel that this administration, this is a big enough issue that we want to have a lot of healthy debate around it, or at least a lot of healthy discussion around it. And we want everyone eyes wide open and want all the aldermen to have time to view the actual on paper ordinance more extensively than just, the 24-48 hours, okay? Also, if we get to a number we're comfortable with, and council agrees, and we pass an ordinance on the 24th, it will have no effect whether we pass it tonight or on the 24th as to how it affects the future of our billing. Okay, so that's where we're at with this. I'm happy to answer any questions as best I can with the understanding I might punch a Mark or Lauren or Mike Schroeder or on the roll. But that's what I've got with this right now. I don't know if you want to add on.
No, I think that's.
Alderman Fairwell, then Alderman Key.
So with the receipt of these brochures by the residents, and I realize it's not a perfect world, and things aren't gonna change overnight, but would technically speaking, that be the date that these new rules have come into effect?
I think there's,
One of us is supposed to be ready, so we want to inform the staff. Full facet of the city. We've done Facebook, we've done the website. Once these hits, we'll redo everything again. Put them in the water bills again, and everything else, and then it's up to me and the administration to enforce how much of a cold turkey approach we're gonna do. But definitely want those hit first, right?
yeah, but to the short answer is, yeah, I mean, we gotta pick a day, right?
Right.
And you gotta take the lead.
So, my question, have these already been printed out?
They were printed by LRS, we didn't.
Okay.
Just so but why you find a typo?
No. I mean, just looking at this is, I mean, it's great and all, I mean, it's very professional looking. But again, doesn't really draw my eye to the issue at hand, which is the change that is going to be taking place. So, I mean, that being said, it's a line here. But, again, it doesn't say, hey, this is a new rule, new attention paid, this is gonna be changing. So, most people don't even read a lot of this stuff, and I hate to say it, but it's true. It'll get tossed and then they'll get hit with a fine and they'll say, hey, I didn't know anything about it, and so, the fact that maybe, if this was, I don't know if the mayor said a second version is gonna go out as well. I mean, before those ones are printed, maybe highlight in red, attention, something like in bold, so that people can realize that this is a significant change and it could affect them.
I agree, and it's definitely, we're all going to try to do all of that. I know this direct mail has never been done before. Usually they would just do a flyer and they would deliver it when they pick up garbage. So we as a staff, we were negotiating, we had them pay for this and pay for the mailing of this. We wanted it direct mail. We will re-hit it all again, right? The water bill and the Facebook, website, we're going to do it multiple times.
This is the start of an effort. This is not it. We're not gonna try this out and be like, no, this is the start.
I just playing devil's advocate.
Yes, years ready for all. Yes, for
Just keep going on. It's bright red. I would say, hey, this is something urgent that I have to pay attention to, otherwise I could get a fine or a fee or some kind of change.
I wouldn't just real quick encourage Alderman to take this home with you, keep it somewhere handy. We have other copies in the clerk's office as well. I can email you a digital copy as well. I say that because the first 6 weeks of this thing.
Also, will it be in Spanish? Well,
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, we are getting this.
and I agree, and it should say effective immediately, attention or something. It looks like it looks great.
Maybe afterwards, but a week from tomorrow, our black captains meeting fourth word and help spread this word. So we have some brochures.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Alvin?
Okay, so for instance, I noticed a couple mattresses that have been around lately for a while, and they don't know to cover it in plastic. So once we start getting this out, how do we get this across, I guess? I don't know.
It's going to be trial and error for a while. We understand. It'll be a lot of.
So they're not gonna get fined right away because they don't know it's changed,
It's got to
even though
be,
the mattress has been out there a month.
it's got to be some kind of transition. However, we're going to work with Public Works to probably transition until it becomes an issue. And then when it becomes an issue and if the resident hasn't corrected it, then we talk about that. But the first is just knowledge. Hey, you got to wrap it in place.
Do we have the covers in our times. So I think the do is going.
And to your point, I think to your point, Alderman, we're not, our purpose here isn't to be overly punitive. It's not to generate revenue from fines. That's not where we're coming from with this. The point of this, and yes, we will do everything we can to operate with common sense and understanding we're here to, we're here to try to help the residents get to where they need to be with this program. So that's the mindset that I'm certainly going to take and be directing staff to.
Yeah, it's really changed the culture. We expect.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions? If not, is there any opposition to tabling this? Hearing none, we're moving on to mayor's announcements and comments. I have not right now, you guys support tomorrow night. Moving on. The city clerk's announcements.
I'd like to thank everyone who helped out with the ball drop, with success this year. Fire department, police department, public works, the leader in the city, that was a great turnout. I think we had a lot of fun. This information, save the dates, the fireworks and the falls will be on the first Saturday of July. We're trying to keep that posted now, like it's Saturday, 24th, will be from now on, instead of changing the date. And City Hall, we work on hometown heroes and the community cleanup and a few more activities for us.
Thank you.
City treasurer. No announcements or comments in there. I just get a motion to approve the monthly treasurer's report ending December 31st, 2022.
Motion Alderman Roll, second Alderman Fairwell, question. Clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson,
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell,
Aye.
Alderman Rita,
Aye.
Alderman Montoya, Alderman McGee,
Aye.
Alderman Carr,
Aye.
Alderman Rowe.
Aye.
So that, Your Honor.
Thank you. City attorney. All right. Anything else from the administrator? No.
Just a quick appropriations update. Just want to say thanks to Alderman Rita, Alderman Farwell, Alderman McGee, Alderman Roll for your participation this week and taking the time to do the appropriations meetings with various departments. We've got a couple more we need to do, but I hope it'll be the end of this week, beginning of next week. Alderman Johnson, we still have to sit down and talk rec center and golf course as well, I believe. So, but we're honing in and getting close on the first draft here. Lauren with Casper's office is getting so. I don't want to make a hard promise on a date, but I think we can probably have a first draft that we can internally start sharing with Alderman and at least start to get some of your feedback, see where our major expenditures are coming and, start that process of prioritizing. But we're pacing a little better than we were last year in terms of getting this done in February, hopefully. So just brief update on that.
Thank you. Alderman Reed.
Going back to F with the alarm system, I apologize, I missed my chance when you said on the question. How are we getting that information out? Because there's different, the new fines, right? Because before it was 3, now it's 2, I think. Like, how are we getting that information out? So that they're aware.
What the information on if the alarm not working?
Well, I thought,
So the fees have been in an ordinance for a long time. It's just cleaning it up. The fee is kind of graded because we try to work with people. We're not trying to put any burden on businesses very hard enough. But it's going from $50 to 750, and it's just that they're being really negligent. We've had some issues in the past. Businesses that aren't accounting more, but they just said they're just not going to pay for the service anymore, put people in the future. So that's why it's kind of varied so much. Does that answer your question or?
Thank you.
Is it okay? Thank you, Senate.
Anybody else? No? Thank you.
thank you.
We do have, I'll just do the automatic stuff first, and we still have a short executive session. So any other automatic comment, Alderman?
Real quick, I won't be able to be here tomorrow night, and I wanted to point out that Val Kehoe is on the schedule tomorrow to talk about all the great work you're doing at the Forestry Board, and it's really kind of like snowballing in a good way because we now have the Forestry Board, and we are meeting some of the requirements and expectations of some independent groups. We're going to be getting more grants. It looks like there's a couple more that are coming in. We're planting more trees, and we'll be working with Public Works on getting a little bit more robust budget for tree maintenance next year. So you got to think all about that. However, to pay close attention and listen closely.
You know, Alderman?
Yes, to address situation that has been actually haven't been had any attention since 1960s. And it's about actually have the lawyers look into possibly, getting us to standard to, as far as pay as aldermen, including the mayor and administration, because we hadn't had a raise since 1960 something, and we went from 14 now to 11. And we try to get it budgeted in for next term. And I just wanted to put it out there for you guys in order to get your consensus on it.
You're asking the attorney to do some diligence?
Yes, please, with the neighboring city, I guess, or something that's compatible. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
I just wanted to say, if you have, the little kids, the library has excellent programs, that they're running activities. And I know from firsthand experience, their attendance is real low. So if you have any kids, definitely, take them to the library and see what activities that, we have as a city to offer. Correct. It's a good way to keep them entertained. And they enjoy it and educated.
Yeah, I'm not, holding anybody to anything, but, at the conclusion of our appropriation, this year, I'd like to see us, if we are feeling ready and there's enough time, take a run at, the first attempt at an operating budget. There's no benefit to rushing it or pushing it if we don't feel we're ready, but I think we could, there's a good chance that we could take a run at it this year. Put that on everybody's release.
Any other Alderman? Now I have a brief executive, session. So your motion to go executive. Alderman Rivas, Alderman Johnson, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
motion to read the meeting. Passes, second by Alderman Fairwell, all in favor? Aye. Executive, we talked about pending litigation. That's it. All right, we need a motion to adjourn. Alderman Carr, second by Alderman Rita, all in favor?